Why do academic writers define things? Upper Intermediate Writing Objective 2.1: Defining and explaining terms and concepts. Why do academic writers define things? In academic writing, students are often expected to give definitions of key words and phrases in order to demonstrate to their instructors that they understand these terms clearly. Academic writers generally, however, define terms so that their readers understand exactly what is meant when certain key terms are used in context of a particular piece of writing. What are ID questions? ID, identification questions, are, as the name suggests, basically a type of short answer question that require the student to define or identify the key characteristics of a particular concept and, or, to explain its significance. Here are some typical ID prompts from university courses. And here are some typical definitions. So we have a kindergarten, a primary school, a night school, a high school, and a university. Each of these is an educational institution. Now, look at the type of institution and decide which from the column on the right defines each of them. What is a formal definition? A formal definition is one sentence that contains three parts, the C, C, C. The first C is the concept that needs defining. The second C is the class to which the item belongs. The final C is, or are, the characteristics of the item. So let's look at our examples again and think of them in terms of concept, class, and characteristics. Here are two more examples. So the concept is a telescope. How do we classify it? A telescope is an instrument. And what's the characteristic of a telescope? Well, a telescope is an instrument that magnifies distant objects. Look at the second example, a knagegessi. Look at how this is classified and look at its characteristics. Now, look back at the unit we've recently studied. How many definitions of key concepts and terms can you find? Do they follow the same pattern that you've just identified? If not, what is the pattern? Later, we'll write an ID question. What are extended definitions? Well, sometimes answers to ID questions can be in the form of extended definitions. They generally start with a sentence which follows the concept, class, characteristics pattern. How they develop from there will depend on the nature of the term and special instructions in the prompt. Let's consider an example. What is sympathetic apprenticeship? Now, can you remember this from input 1? Let's take a look. Here's a simple definition. This is a method of learning in which the learner is helped to master a new skill by observing other people, who are already experts, using the skill. Let's now look at an extended definition. Look what information has been added. Gradually, the learner experiments with aspects of the skill that they have picked up, for example, by using new words when learning a language. And they are encouraged by their own success and also by other people's approval or positive feedback. Their teachers, the experts, do not set up special learning programs or correct mistakes much, and failure is not punished. There are also no progress tests. What strategies has the writer used to extend her definition? So, what types of extended definitions are there? Well, there's comparison, there's describing a cause or an effect, there's the description of a process, and, importantly, there are combinations of these. So, thinking back to Unit 1, let's try and do this. Define multiple intelligences. Can you do this now? You can look at page 15 of Beyond the Boundaries. Here's some possible information to include in your answer. Here are some examples. What are short answer questions? Short answer questions are a common feature of university examination papers in many different subjects. They may vary in length from one sentence to several sentences and usually require the use of one type of communicative function. This can be definition, comparison, describing a cause or an effect, and description of a process. The information for answers to the short answer question will almost certainly come from a limited number of possible sources. Because of the shared information between the question writer and you answering the question, you'll be expected to use topic-related vocabulary in your answers. So, let's consider an example now. What is the difference between intrapersonal intelligence and interpersonal intelligence? How could one affect the other? Write your answer in the space below. Here is an example answer. So, we start with an extended definition of one of the concepts, in this case, intrapersonal intelligence. Okay, and there's a definition of the contrasting concept. There's a discussion of the relationship between the concepts, and there's an argument and the basis of this argument, or the support. Thank you for listening to this. Please try and use what you've learned here to define concepts that you find in the course book.